How do I choose the best guardian for my children? This one hits really close to home for me. My husband and I have two young kiddos, and we want to make sure that if something happened to us, that we have selected, the best guardian that we can, who essentially would be as near to our parenting style as possible. That is not always an option. And so we want to select someone who has similar parenting philosophy, things like discipline, or, something that's at least close to in line with what we believe. And that is my first recommendation. Religion, spirituality, decisions that, on things that you would make, that you would want those to be in line with your values are critically important as well. It's really important to think through the parenting philosophy style with the discipline, educational choices, extracurricular activities. Those are decisions that you really trust a potential guardian, could make in light of what they know you would want. And to the extent that you actually let them know ahead of time what you want, that goes a long way to help your guardian honor and, raise your children the way that you would want. We do that through a process called the Guardian Guide, and that is when we're talking about long-term guardianship. Who would actually raise your children if you were not able to? That is a separate question from short-term guardianship, which is what happens in an emergency situation. But going back to the long-term piece, what I like to caution you about considering is assuming that the long-term guardian, whether they have a lot of financial resources or are wealthy or not, relying on that as a fact to worry about whether they would have enough money to raise your children is not actually a good reason to choose them or not choose them. I never suggest that finances in and of itself is the best reason to choose a guardian, because ideally you will be leaving enough finances and support for your children to raise them and to get through, high school, ultimately college and beyond, with the support of the assets that are in your trust. The opposite versus, having someone else foot the money or the bill to be the ones to support your children financially. That's not actually how it should happen. It is totally a separate decision in terms of what is the best way to handle the finances for your children, and things like what the money should be spent on versus who is paying to raise them. So you really can raise them as closely aligned with what you would want in terms of that parenting philosophy, and leave the worry and the issue of the financial support to the trust plan and knowing that that will be set up properly for you. That, in my opinion, is the best way to choose a guardian.